The Leith Festival came to a close with nautical tales of a ship with a past as wild as the waves it once sailed upon.
The SS Explorer is currently, and has for quite a few years, been moored in Leith's Edinburgh dock. It was built up in Aberdeen, but it was always registered in Leith, and that's where it's found a berth. And it's currently being refurbished by the SS Explorer Preservation Society, and they've received a lottery grant to get them started in that project, and they're hoping that the dream at the end of the day is that this ship becomes a resource for the whole community, educationally, maybe a floating museum available for everybody to learn its history and the sort of part it's played really in Leith and indeed Scotland's maritime history. I have been taken around the ship a number of times by Andy Marshbanks and other members of the Preservation Society, and it's a wonderful experience. It's definitely a hard hat tour for the reasonably able-bodied. You have to scramble over the casing into the galleyway. You can see many of the old 1950s fitments, that's when the ship was built, are still there intact. There's been a certain amount of vandalisation and deterioration over the years, but by and large, you get a very good picture of what it was like as a working ship, a fisheries research vessel. You go into the wheel room and see the big wooden wheel for steering, the speaking tube, into the fish house where loads of fish were brought in. They were trawled in by trawlermen on the ship and then brought into the scientists who were working in the fish house, who would carry out various pieces of research on patterns of fish migration, fish numbers, etc. They could tell how old the fish were, some of them anyway, by removing the little bones in the fish's ear.
Fish aside, the ship is worthy of being transformed into a play, with further finds uncovered in its history.
We discovered that she was, as well as doing fisheries research, was a part-time spy ship. And the man they called the commander, who really was the radio operator, was listening in on Russian subs through listening devices dropped down onto the seabed right up in the north of Norway. So that was quite interesting. Our playwright, Jim Brown, who wrote Sea Changes, very cleverly managed to weave all this in, the little scams and dodges that were going on. And there were some real characters on the ship that we heard about. There seemed to be an interest in wearing wigs. At least 2 crew members we discovered wore a wig for no apparent reason. And there were amusing stories of one crewman who, often with a drink taken, would perhaps turn on the gas in the cooker or in the engine and then go and look for the matches. And so hence great explosions, which on one occasion sent his wig flying through the air. So silly things, daft things like that, which we were told about, and Jim managed to incorporate as many of them as possible into a drama, into a play.
Citadel Arts Group, perhaps in this case fittingly based at the Leith Dockers Club, put on a range of plays, but the story of the SS Explorer is not quite decommissioned yet.
Well, we're working on a number of things. We're hoping this isn't the end of our SS Explorer play, that Sea Changes may be able to go further. It all comes down to funding, of course, but we have had requests from Aberdeen, because there's a strong interest in the ship in Aberdeen. That's where the scientists are based. Many of them still live up there.
Wanted to come back and see the old girl one last time. And to catch up with some of my old comrades.
Which is exactly what one can do with this seafaring production. Ian McNally, That's TV.